In a cramped Queens walk-up, Henry Parker, a single father who knew the city's unforgiving grip, zipped his son Leo into a worn coat. Later, on a cold fire escape, fingers tracing a newly bought thrift store jacket, he felt it a hidden note. "Please help. I've been taken. Basement. 153 quiet street trees behind." The jagged paper, stained with desperate ink, pulled him from his struggle for survival into a harrowing search for Astrid Mitchell, a missing woman held captive. This unlikely discovery would not only unravel a dark secret, but also force Henry to redefine what it meant to be brave, both for Astrid and for his own quiet life. Henry was 23, living in a crooked third-floor walk-up in Corona, Queens, just him and his boy. The city did not give breaks. It gave noise, rot, and just enough light to think maybe tomorrow would not feel so heavy. He had moved down from Delaware County after both his parents passed in the same awful year. He thought New York would slap the grief off him. All it did was empty his wallet and fill it with rent receipts. Henry worked nights over in the Bronx, a maintenance technician at a self-storage joint. Lights, locks, water leaks. If something broke, it was his. Before that, he had 2 busted gigs at shady auto shops in Long Island City. Both bosses treated rain like a reason to cut hours. Money was always tight. He tracked every penny in a dollar store notebook. Rent, subway cards, school snacks, diapers, knockoff toothpaste. Some nights he skipped dinner, telling himself he was teaching discipline. The truth was, he could not afford to be full. Clinton Baker, his so-called best friend since high school, was crashing with his cousin in Astoria, still talking about big plans and easy flips. Clinton always needed just $60, a quick 100, promising to send it back when his hustle hit. He never did. His wife, Vivian, barely looked at Henry when he stopped by. She blamed him for Clinton's stalled ambition, as if Henry letting Clinton sit on his couch was the reason he had not made it big yet. Leo's mother left when he was 2. She found some investment guy with a car service and leather seats. She dropped Leo off one weekend, as if Henry were a shelter. She did not even look back. Henry remembered standing at the door with a diaper bag in one hand and a child in the other, thinking, "This is it. I am all he has." That winter came early, and it came hard. Henry's coat had holes in both elbows. The zipper stuck, and it smelled like cheap insulation. He hit a market on Roosevelt Avenue, hoping for something warm without spending $40. He found a black work jacket, thick lining, scuffed sleeves, and a stitched-up collar for $28 cash. The man running the stall, an older gentleman with kind eyes and cracked fingernails, wrapped it in newspaper as if it were a gift. He said, "Do not worry, kid. We lose a lot in life, but sometimes miracles land in our lap. And remember, family is not always blood." Henry nodded, pretending he was not holding on to that like it meant something. Truth. He needed it to mean something. He needed anything to mean something. That night, after he got Leo into his rocket ship pajamas and tucked into the pull-out bed, Henry stepped out onto the fire escape with the jacket. The air stung his face. Queens always smelled like exhaust and fried meat in winter. He pulled the coat tight and ran his fingers down the inside seam. That was when he felt it. Paper, not fabric. He froze, slid his hand back slowly, and pressed again. Definitely paper. He did not say a word, just turned, went back inside, and grabbed the box cutter from the kitchen drawer. He slit the seam open with the box cutter, his hand steady, his heart not. The blade dragged through the lining, as if he were cutting skin. He reached in and felt the edge of paper. It was thin, stiff, folded tight. He pulled it out slowly. Just one scrap of cheap, ruled notebook paper, jagged at the side, as if it were ripped in a hurry. Ink bled into the fibers, heavy strokes that pressed straight through. Please help. I have been taken. Basement. He makes me repair vintage clothes. He sells. I saw a sign 153 quiet street trees behind. Think he killed others. Astrid M. Henry read it once, then again. Then he stood there staring at it as if it might change if he blinked hard enough. His fingers went numb. He flipped the jacket inside out, digging through every inch of that lining. No cash, no photos, no address. Just that note, just that voice on the paper. He grabbed a sandwich bag from the kitchen drawer and slid the scrap inside. Then he took a picture on his cracked phone, just in case. Leo was snoring on the pull-out bed. Henry shook his shoulder and pulled on his coat. Leo blinked up at him, confused. Are we getting hot chocolate? He asked, rubbing his eyes. After? Henry said, zipping him up. The air outside slapped him in the face. Wind tore down Roosevelt Avenue as if it had somewhere to be. They rode the night bus to the precinct, sitting quietly except for Leo counting light poles. At the 110th precinct, the warmth inside felt fake, like microwaved soup. The front desk smelled of coffee left too long in the pot. The desk sergeant, with a gray mustache and a pink face, barely looked up when Henry walked in. Henry told him what he found, showing him the bag. The sergeant glanced at it, as if Henry had handed him a grocery list. Yeah, kids write stuff like this all the time, he said. We find that junk all over. People forget notebooks in thrift stores, Henry insisted. She wrote it in a jacket, sewn in the lining. Somebody out there is holding her in a basement. She says he makes her fix clothes. She saw a sign with 153 trees. Quiet street. She thinks he killed people. The sergeant exhaled, as if Henry were a minor inconvenience. Listen, man, there are basements in every borough. Take it to Lost, and found if you feel guilty tossing it. Henry's mouth stayed shut for a second. Then he stepped forward, keeping his voice calm. This is not a prank. This is not make-believe. This is a real living person. Read the handwriting. That is someone trying not to fall apart. Leo tugged Henry's jacket, and Henry realized he was breathing hard. The sergeant rolled his eyes and waved Henry toward the plastic chairs. So, Saturday, Leo folded Henry an origami frog from a gum wrapper and whispered that frogs liked basements because they were cool and dark. Henry managed a faint smile. People do not, he said. They had been sitting for about 10 minutes when a younger detective walked past and did a double take. He had a dark coat and buzzed hair. Maybe in his mid-30s. He looked sharp but not tired, which made him stand out in there. He nodded at the bag in Henry's hand. What is that? He asked. Henry stood up. A note sewn inside a coat lining. Someone begging for help. The detective held out his hand. Henry passed him the sandwich bag. He read it once, then again, and the way his brow tightened told Henry he was not crazy. He looked over at the sergeant. You logged this? The sergeant shrugged. Guy found it in a jacket. Basement story. The detective did not answer him. He just turned to Henry. Start from the top, he said. I am Detective George. Henry told him everything. Where he bought the coat. When, what the seller looked like. Detective George pulled out a notebook and started writing. He asked what stall Henry got it from. Henry gave him the exact corner, telling him it was Roosevelt near 74th Street, past the produce vendor, across from the churro cart. Detective George listened all the way through, did not rush Henry, did not talk down. When Henry finished, he nodded and said, We had a missing persons case out of Westchester. Big media splash, then nothing. Name was Astrid. Astrid Mitchell. No ransom, no contact, no signs of running off. The family has been looking. This, he held up the bag. This is something. Henry felt something click into place. Not hope exactly, just traction. Do you believe it? Henry asked. I believe someone wrote it, Detective George said. And I believe it is not junk. Behind him, 2 other detectives smirked as if he were wasting his time. He ignored them and told Henry he would make some calls, cross-check markets, check surveillance. You do not throw away a thread just because it is thin, he said. On the way out, Leo squeezed Henry's hand. Is the girl going to be okay? Henry did not sugarcoat. I do not know, buddy, but we just made her odds better. At the bodega down the block, Henry called Clinton Baker, telling him what happened, thinking maybe he would understand. The first thing out of Clinton's mouth was, Dude, you should have filmed it. We could post it. Henry hung up before he finished, buying Leo the hot chocolate he asked for, with 2 pumps of caramel. Back home, Henry tossed the laundry bag off the couch and slid the jacket under his bed. He sat on the edge, staring at the ceiling. Pipes hissed, steam clanked. Somewhere below them, a baby started crying and did not stop for a while. Henry lay down in his clothes, keeping his boots on. The city kept making noise, but he held on to the quiet where he could. Henry was halfway through tightening a busted faucet in the women's restroom at the storage place when his phone buzzed hard in his back pocket. 6:42 in the morning. He remembered the time exactly because that call changed everything. It was Detective George. His voice was calm, but Henry heard the engine underneath it. We found her, he said. Astrid Mitchell, alive. Henry stood up so fast he cracked his head on the mirror. He did not even flinch. He just wiped his hand on his jeans and said, Where do you need me? Detective George told him to come into the precinct, no details over the phone. Henry called his boss and said the word family. That was the magic word. His boss just grunted and told him to cover his next shift. Henry took the train. His eyes locked on the window, even when it went dark underground. Detective George did not waste time when Henry walked in. He had the case file open on the desk, a photo of Astrid clipped to the front with a paper clip as if it were any other sheet. It was not. The man's name is Silas, Detective George said. 45 years old. Real name, Silas Culleton. He ran a little patchwork scam, selling refurbished vintage clothes. Basically stolen, fixed up, and moved at flea markets upstate and out here in the city. How long? Henry asked. She disappeared 8 months ago, Detective George said. He took her when she was 24. We found her this morning in a basement in Delaware County. Henry stared at him. Delaware County? You are kidding. Nope, Detective George said. You grew up around there, right? Yeah. That is home, Henry said, his throat tightening for a second. What was she doing all that time? Detective George shifted in his seat, sewing, sleeping, eating when he let her. He had a bucket for a toilet, a cot, one of those old pedal machines. He kept it basic. Routine. Nothing flashy. We think he was trying to stay small, keep her alive long enough to use her, then squeeze the family for money. He slid the jacket across the desk, the one Henry had found at the market. She sewed notes into linings, collars, buttonholes. Most of them were tossed or resold before anyone saw a thing. Yours made it through. He pointed at the 153 from the note. Turns out that is not a street number. It is a mile marker on Route 153, about 8 minutes from the shack we found her in. That got us a search radius. From there, it was property records, water bills, and a man who had once been busted for petty theft in Walton, same name, same van, matched the tags to a flea market stall in Kingston. Detective George leaned forward. We pulled up just before dawn. 3 units. Warrant in hand. He tried to play dumb, told us he had not seen her, but she was downstairs behind a fake wall. That wall came down fast. Henry's chest was hot and cold all at once. Is she okay? She is alive, malnourished, shaken, her eyes like she had been kept in a jar. But she is talking and she asked where the jacket came from. Henry could not think of what to say to that. So he kept quiet. Detective George just nodded and patted the folder. Your name is in the report. You will probably get a call from her people. An hour later, that call came. A lawyer, pressed suit, smooth voice, called himself Corbin, said Mr. Felix Mitchell would like a word. He arranged a meeting at the hospital in a neutral room. Henry was not sure what to wear, so he wore clean jeans and the same boots he had fixed pipes in for 2 years. Felix Mitchell walked in as if he had stepped out of a corner office in Midtown. He wore a dark wool coat with a 1,000-yard stare. But there was nothing slick about the way he looked at Henry. Not anger, not distance, just grief, and something deeper. He held out both hands, grabbing Henry's like Henry was a rope, and he had been drowning. I am Felix, he said. I want to thank you for what you did. No need, Henry told him. I just found a note. Felix did not let go right away. That note saved my daughter. That note cracked something open. I did not even know what it was at first. I thought maybe it was some weird prank. It was not, he said, his eyes not blinking much. It was her last shot. He let go and sat down across from Henry. I have a lot of money. I have lawyers and press contacts in companies in 7 states. None of that did what you did. Henry shifted in his seat. It was not just me. Detective George listened. He made the calls, pushed it through. Felix nodded once. I have already thanked him. I am here for you. I am just a dad who buys jackets at street markets. Felix smiled at that. That is what makes it stick. No angle, no ask. Just saw something and did the right thing. I was not sure it was the right thing, Henry admitted, but I could not walk away. That is the part I care about. They sat for a minute in that quiet room while the world buzzed beyond the glass. Finally, Felix asked, What is your situation? Work? Family? Henry gave it to him straight. Storage job in the Bronx. 1 child, Leo, 5 years old, no savings, rent late 2 months. Everything balanced on hustle and timing. Felix just nodded again. No pity, just calculation. I take care of my own, he said. I believe in that. Later that day, Henry got the full breakdown from Detective George. Silas had been building toward extortion. He had a folder of news clippings about Felix, drafts of emails asking for money in vague terms, some even trying to sound like Astrid herself wrote them. They were never sent. He was probably still working up the nerve. The district attorney has enough to bury him, Detective George said. Unlawful confinement, coercion, exploitation, criminal impersonation, intent to defraud. It will stick. He will rot. He paused. You know what you did, right? Henry looked at him. I found a note in a busted coat. Detective George smiled. You showed up. Before Henry left, Detective George handed him a copy of the evidence log with his name on it, saying the jacket was cleared for release. Henry took it home and laid it flat on the table, as if it were something sacred. Leo asked if it was the magic coat that saved the girl. Henry told him maybe it was. Leo was drawing rockets on the back of a grocery list when the wire hit. $11,960. Felix's lawyer, Corbin, sent Henry the breakdown with a quiet as agreed. Every cent was aimed with purpose. 2 months back, rent. One emergency bill, from when Leo split his chin on a sidewalk. The last chunk knocked out the credit card Henry had been paying $15 at a time for 3 years. He sat at the table and stared at the screen until his coffee went cold. Then a second wire came in. Same sender, different note, thank you payment, pre-cleared, tax sorted. $142,000. Not a handshake, not a blank check. It came with documents, a signature line, and a message from the lawyer. Clean and above board. Henry signed. Pride was nice in theory, but it did not pay for daycare, groceries, or breathing room. He signed because it meant he could stop counting rice and start counting time. He left the storage job the next morning, telling his boss in person. His boss did not blink, did not ask why. He just said, "Your slot will be open if you want it back." He meant it. In this city, that meant something. By the end of the week, Henry was working remotely, piecing together used car condition reports for regional dealers. He had gotten the lead through a man who used to bring his car into the Queen's shop. The man needed help documenting vehicle identification numbers, verifying damage, calling sellers who flaked. Henry was decent at it. He knew what panel rust looked like under fresh paint. He worked from the kitchen table in his boxers, while Leo stacked juice boxes into pyramids. The pay was better than expected. Nothing flashy, but enough to hold them up. He did not care if it sounded boring. Glamour did not pack lunchboxes or scrape Play-Doh out of the carpet. They moved to a 2-bedroom in Woodside. It had real windows. No roaches. Leo got a bunk bed he did not need, and a rug with a road printed on it for his toy cars. Henry still woke up some nights thinking he was behind on rent. He panicked in the dark, his heart racing, as if money was still chasing him down the hallway. The first week in the new place, Clinton Baker showed up with a 6-pack, a 3/4 grin, locked and loaded. He called Henry Mr. Big Shot, kicked off his shoes as if he still lived there, and flopped onto the couch with a deep sigh. He clinked his bottle against Henry's. "Told you, man. We were always meant to eat. You invest, I execute." Henry laughed as if it were a joke. Clinton did not laugh back. Vivian came by the next night with a foil tray of brownies and a warm hug that lingered a second too long. She sat at the counter, asking gentle questions. How much was left after rent? How steady was the new job? What kind of endeavors did Henry want to pursue next? Henry said he did not know yet. Vivian smiled and nodded as if she understood, but her eyes kept scanning the room as if she were building a budget off what she saw. A few days later, Henry bought Clinton a used laptop for $380. Nothing fancy, just enough to get him started. Clinton said he had a plan: reseller funnels, affiliate margins, content that scaled. Henry asked him what kind of content. Clinton said, "Just wait, trust the process." 2 days later, Clinton had posted 2 memes and a picture of himself in sunglasses captioned, "The grind chooses you." Henry did not say a word. Then Callista Mora walked into Henry's life like the beginning of a new chapter. They met at a car show in Jamaica. She was helping her cousin with a vendor tent, selling microfiber cloths and ceramic sprays. She had bright eyes, fast words, and a laugh that rolled right through Henry's ribs. She told Henry he looked like someone who did not take shortcuts. Henry told her he did not have time to. She said he had grit. She said that was rare. Henry believed her because grit was all he had left for too long. They started seeing each other. Coffee and Astoria, late-night takeout. 2 weekends walking the aisles of AutoZone, for no real reason. She knew business as Henry knew brake rotors. She talked about value chains and customer conversion as if it were second nature. When she pitched the online storefront for curated auto accessories, Henry listened. She showed mock-ups, sales funnels, supplier lists. She needed a test, $3,750. To lock in the domain, hosting, and launch inventory. Henry said yes, not because he was trying to impress her, but because it felt like a small risk. He had room to breathe now. Around the same time, Clinton started making little comments, subtle stuff. He would say, "You are going big, bro." Or, "She told me you are finally leaning in." These were things Henry had not said to Callista yet. Henry wanted to ignore it. People talked. People exaggerated. That was what he told himself. But it crawled up his spine like a chill. One night over dinner, Henry asked Callista if she had told anyone about the money. She smiled and said, "Only in general." Henry let it drop, but the knot in his stomach stayed. Meanwhile, Detective George texted Henry once. Just once. "Astrid is stabilizing. Therapy. Press settled down." Henry texted back, "Thanks again." Detective George answered, "You did the brave part, showing up." That stuck with Henry more than it should have because he was not feeling brave. He was feeling watched. Orders did not flood in as Callista promised. Her soft launch quietly swallowed money as if it were starving. The site was live, slick design, full catalog. Buzzwords in every headline. But clicks did not mean carts. And carts did not mean sales. Henry asked how long it would take to see traction. She smiled and said it was standard customer acquisition burn. Henry nodded as if he knew what that meant, even though his gut already did. It still drained cash, whether branding or bleeding. The next week, Clinton pulled Henry into a diner on 31st Avenue. It had vinyl booths, weak coffee, and the same laminated menu from 10 years ago. Clinton waited until Henry's cup was half full before hitting him with it. "I have a line on something tight," he said. "Phone flipping pipeline. Clean inventory. We hold for 72 hours. Relist. Profit margin around 30%. Just need float money." Henry sipped his coffee and did not blink. "How much?" Henry asked. $5,600 now. Another $8,000 by the end of the month. That number rolled off Clinton's tongue too cleanly. He did not check notes, did not guess. That was not ballpark. That was budgeted. "How on earth do you know those numbers?" Henry asked. Clinton grinned, leaned back, his arms wide as if Henry was being silly. "Come on, man. We are family. I know your rhythm. I can tell when you are flush." Henry paid the check and left a tip just to stop talking. That weekend, Vivian invited Henry and Leo over for lasagna. She said it was just dinner, nothing heavy. But the way she smiled told a different story. She wore makeup as if she were expecting news. Clinton played it cool, talking about hustle and trends, but his eyes were watching Henry's as if he were waiting for Henry to say yes without saying yes. When Vivian stepped into the hallway to take a call, Henry caught the glow of her phone, lighting her face as if she had seen a ghost. Her voice dropped low, too quiet to hear words. She did not look surprised, though, just tired. Monday night, Callista made dinner at Henry's place. Stir, fry, wine, the kind of music that felt like it was saying everything was fine. They sat close on the couch. She nuzzled into his shoulder and whispered, "If we get another $25,000 in, we are real. I am talking press kits, influencer boxes, branded shipping." That was when it hit Henry. He did not answer right away. She brushed her lips against his neck and said, "Men who hesitate lose markets." It was meant to be sexy. All Henry felt was cornered. That night, Leo made Callista a paper crane, his favorite color, red, and wrote for Callista in crooked letters on the wing. She smiled and said she loved it, then left it sitting on the counter next to her purse. When Leo asked why it was not in her bag, Henry did not have an answer. He did, though. A day later, Henry was updating some records on his tablet when he noticed a direct message icon he did not recognize. He clicked, and his stomach dropped. It was from Clinton, sent to Callista's handle. The tone was casual, the message short. He is liquid right now. Push him past 10,000. I will warm him up. You are welcome. No question, no hesitation, just a plan. Henry stared at that screen for a long time. Then he took a screenshot, emailed it to himself, and moved it to a secure folder labeled paperwork because that was what it was now. Evidence. The next day, Henry waited until Leo was watching cartoons and asked Callista straight up, "You talked to Clinton about my accounts?" She blinked, looked him in the eye, then said, "Only in general, nothing specific. You know how he talks." Which was not no, and was not enough. That same night, Vivian texted Henry by mistake, or maybe on purpose. It was a voice memo meant for someone else. Her sister, Henry thought. He played it 3 times, just to be sure. If he gives her that 25,000, we are covered till tax season. Covered. Henry did not call anyone, did not explode, did not shout. He just went quiet. For 2 days, he worked his reports, made grilled cheese, packed lunches, walked Leo to school and back. He kept the machine running and let the noise shake itself loose. On the 3rd day, Callista came by with a tray of samples and a new sales deck. It had bright colors, charts, and fancy fonts. She smiled as if they were at the top of something instead of halfway down. Henry poured her coffee, sat her down, and said, "No." She blinked. No to what? No to the 25,000. No to any of it. Her smile fell so fast it felt rehearsed. "Then we are misaligned," she said. Her voice was suddenly formal, as if they were standing in a trade show booth, not his kitchen. She stood, gathered her things, did not say goodbye to Leo, even though he was sitting 5 feet away, gluing popsicle sticks into something that looked like a bridge. She left the paper crane on the counter. Henry watched her go. He did not move, just stood there and let the silence roll in like fog. Leo looked up and said, "She forgot her bird." Henry picked it up, folded the wing back into place, and slid it into the drawer with the spare keys. He did not slam the door when Callista left. He did not rage or break a glass. He just stood there in the quiet and felt the last piece of the city slide off him like an old skin. And that was it. He was done. The next morning, Henry gave notice on the apartment, called his boss to let him know he would still be working remotely but from upstate, and packed slowly. Leo helped by stuffing his paper boats into a shoebox and asking if squirrels lived near their new house. Henry said yes, and Leo asked if they wore jackets in the snow. Henry told him maybe scarves. The black jacket went into a box with Leo's drawings and the crane Callista left behind. Henry taped it shut and labeled it Keep, as if that would make the memories inside behave. On a cold Tuesday, Henry drove north. No music, no rush, just the steady hum of the road and his child asleep in the back seat with his stuffed raccoon on his lap. He passed the sign for Delaware County and did not flinch. He passed the gas station where he bought his first pack of gum with a crumpled dollar. He passed the dirt road where his father taught him how to change a tire. He passed the spot where he wrecked his bike trying to impress a girl who did not even remember it happened. The house sat as if it had been holding its breath for him. It had the same crooked porch, the same flaking trim, the same roof that never quite stopped leaking. Probate was done. The deed had his name on it, and Felix's thank you gift had let him square up the back taxes and buy a few tools. The porch sagged like a tired back. Gutters drooped at the corners. The wind chime still hung where his mother left them, tangled up as if they had been in a fight with the sky and lost. But it was his, and he was staying. That first night, Henry found the breaker box, flipped on the furnace, and made grilled cheese while Leo danced in his socks across the hardwood floor, as if it were a skating rink. They slept on a mattress on the floor with 3 blankets and a flashlight for comfort. By sunset the next day, there was a knock at the door. Henry opened it to find a woman holding a steaming casserole in one arm and a paper bag in the other. She was about 60, wore a cardigan that looked hand-knitted, and had eyes as if she had seen more winters than she let on. "I am Bernice," she said. "Your parents were good people. Welcome home." Henry stood there, momentarily dumb, before remembering his manners. "Henry Parker. Thanks. You did not have to." "Of course I did," she cut in. "You have a child, do you not? No boy should eat frozen meals 3 nights straight." She handed him the bag. Apples. Local. That was that. She did not wait for small talk, just gave a nod, and walked back down the steps as if she had been delivering casseroles since the 1960s. Henry set up his desk near the front window, where the view was nothing but maple trees and the occasional squirrel Leo liked to name. He wrote his reports in peace. No sirens, no stomping upstairs neighbors, just birds, the occasional creak, and the radiator rattling as if it were telling secrets. Leo settled into a routine. Paper planes in the morning, leaf piles in the afternoon, hot cocoa at 4 o'clock, and knock-knock jokes at dinner. He had one about a banana and a chicken that killed Henry every time. Henry pretended not to know the punchline, and Leo pretended it was brand new. Henry fixed the porch rail with lumber from a yard in Walton. It took a weekend to patch the roof. He learned the kind of tired that sits in your bones without turning into anger. That kind of tired felt honest. The kind you earn. Clinton called 12 times in 3 days. Henry let most of them go to voicemail. When he finally picked up, Clinton jumped straight in. "Bro, I know you are cooling off, but I have something real this time. Not fluff. We can. I am not funding anything," Henry said. "I wish you well, but I am done." There was a pause. Then Clinton's voice turned sharp. "You are a traitor. You forget who believed in you." He hung up before Henry could reply. Henry let the echo sit in the room for a second, then went back to sanding the back door. The handle stuck every time it got cold. He wanted it smooth. Later that week, Vivian texted Henry separately, asking, "You ever see any of Clinton's receipts?" Henry did not bite. He just replied, "I have my own receipts." That was enough. Most nights, the house creaked and shifted as if it were stretching after a long nap. Henry would lie in bed and think about that jacket. About Astrid. About the man who hurt her. And the people who did not see it until it was almost too late. He remembered what the seller at the market said, his eyes soft under that battered cap. "Do not worry, kid. We lose a lot in life. But sometimes miracles land in our lap. And remember, family is not always blood." Back then, Henry had nodded as if it were just talk. Now, lying in a house full of second chances and half-fixed problems, he believed him more with each passing day. The knock did not sound urgent, just steady. Henry opened the front door, expecting Bernice with another apple pie or a roofing contractor he had forgotten he called. Instead, there was a gray Subaru idling near the gate. And standing at the bottom of his steps was a young woman in a knit cap and a black coat, 2 sizes too big. "Is this where Henry Parker lives?" she asked, her voice low as if she did not want to interrupt the day. Henry did not answer right away. He had seen her face before on missing posters, on news crawls, even in a press conference clip when they first found her. But this version was quieter, softer, human. "Astrid," Henry said. She nodded once, pulling the sleeves over her hands. "I am sorry to show up like this. I did not know who else to ask. I need quiet. Not the kind they sell with spa music and blackout curtains. The kind where people forget your name on purpose." Henry did not ask how she found him. She probably did not tell anyone either. She pointed toward the back of the property. "I saw there is a little shed. If it is dry, I can rent it. A month tops. I will clean it up. I will stay out of your way. I need a place that does not smell like microphones." "The shed is not insulated," Henry told her. "You would freeze before morning. I will manage." Henry shook his head. "You will not. Come in. I have a guest room." She hesitated, looked down at her boots, as if she were checking for permission. "That is too much." "It is not." She followed Henry in without another word. Henry gave her the room across from Leo's, cleared the top drawer, handed her a towel, and told her he would make chili. Leo peeked out from behind the fridge, one sock on, his hair sticking out like a crown of static. "That is Astrid," he whispered as if she were a television character come to life. Henry nodded. Leo ran off, came back 5 minutes later holding a folded paper boat with her name scribbled in orange marker. "Here," he said, handing it to her as if it were treasure. "It floats if you do not poke it." She crouched to meet him eye level, and smiled. Really smiled. The kind that starts slow and cracks something open. "I will keep it safe," she said. The next afternoon, Henry found them on the porch swing. She was helping him sound out truck and tree from a library book. When he got them right, she clapped and said he was already smarter than most grown men. At dinner, she pushed beans around her plate before finally saying, "Therapy is like running in place. Everyone wants to hear you're healing, but nobody wants to hear how. Strangers tell me I am brave, call me strong, then ask what brand of mascara I was wearing when I got rescued." Henry did not say anything. She did not need answers. She needed air. She added, "One man told me I should write a book. Another said I should run for office. I just want to sleep. Sleep is the only luxury worth paying full price for," Henry said. She looked at him as if that was the first honest thing anyone had told her in weeks. Later that night, she sat at the kitchen table, holding an old thrift store sweater she had picked up in town. She showed Henry the inside seam where she had started a stitch out of habit, just muscle memory from all those months underground. Her fingers trembled halfway through. She put the needle down and looked at her hands as if they belonged to someone else. "I do not want to be that girl again," she said. "You are not." At night, she would walk the yard slowly, her head down, counting breaths, her boots crunching frost-bitten leaves as if she needed to hear something break. Henry left the porch light on and pretended he was tightening something that squeaked just to be nearby. One night, she did not say anything. She just came in and set the paper boat from Leo on the windowsill. Henry got a text from Detective George a few days after she showed up. No hello, no small talk. Glad she found a quiet place. You are a good man. Henry did not reply. Detective George did not ask where she was. Henry did not offer. Felix called once late, around 10 o'clock. Henry stepped outside to take it, the cold biting into his shirt. Felix's voice was steady but careful. She reached out to her sister. That is all I know. I do not need details. I just wanted to say thank you again. She is safe, Henry said. That is what matters. Felix paused. Then no press, please. Of course. Henry could hear the relief in his exhale. Not because she was gone, but because he had not lost her again in public. That mattered more than whatever headlines they could milk. The town did not know who she was. Henry did not tell. Folks waved as they always did. They dropped off eggs, asked if the new girl liked cider. She told them her name was G. That was all. No last name, no history. They took her word for it. And that was the best gift anyone had given her. One morning, Henry passed by the porch swing and saw her dozing with a book in her lap, and the sun hitting her face just right. She looked like someone who had finally heard silence long enough to believe it. Astrid was still asleep on the porch swing when the email came in. The subject line, "One last try from Callista." Henry clicked it with a pit in his chest. Already knowing the flavor of what was inside, she had attached a new pitch deck, brighter colors, more buzzwords, and at the bottom in soft italics, "I miss us." Henry did not reply. A week later, his phone buzzed while he was grabbing canned beans at the market in town. It was Vivian. He had not heard from her in weeks. "Do not hang up," she said. Her voice was tight, as if she were holding something back. "He is in deeper than I knew. Clinton. He has been feeding Callista everything. Everything." Henry did not say anything, just waited. "I found messages," she said. "Full breakdowns, your payments, your address, even your schedule. Like he is her business manager or something." She sent the screenshots without Henry asking. One showed Clinton spelling out how much Henry had transferred into Callista's test launch. Another listed Leo's school drop-offs as if it were part of a logistics plan. There were bullet points, actual bullet points. It did not sting. It burned. That night, Henry called Clinton. New York was a one-party consent state, and Henry knew exactly what he was doing. Clinton picked up as if nothing was wrong. "Yo, man. I'm glad you finally called. Thought maybe we could." "It has been quite a ride, huh?" Henry said, calm. "Yeah, well, you needed a push, bro." I nudged. That is what family does. Vivian is too simple to get it. But Henry ended the call mid-sentence, saved the recording, and dropped it into a folder on his laptop labeled Fence Posts. Then he sent Clinton a final text. "I am done. Do not contact me again." Then he blocked him. Clinton was gone. The same week, Henry got a letter from an Albany law office representing Leo's mother. She wanted to revisit custody based on material changes in financial status and living conditions. Henry had been expecting something like that. He just did not think it would come gift-wrapped in legal letterhead. He called a family attorney in Walton the same day, handing over every text message from the year she left. "I cannot do this, Henry. You handle it. I need space." They were time-stamped, preserved. Backed up twice, his attorney drafted a simple reply, offering a structured parenting plan, specific weekends, holidays, pickup at the county line. Leo's mother did not take it. Not a word back. Henry spent the rest of that week pretending to focus on vehicle identification number reports and tire conditions, while his jaw stayed clenched for hours at a time. He did not sleep right. He did not eat right. He just kept thinking, "They all think I am the mark, the easy win, the guy with the soft no." Astrid saw the envelope and the legal pad and the stack of copied texts on the table one afternoon. She did not ask right away. She waited until Leo was asleep and Henry was rinsing dishes. "You need anything?" she said from the doorway. "I am fine." She stepped closer. "I did not ask that." Henry dried his hands and stared out the window as if he would find peace in the night sky. Then he exhaled hard and said, "I just do not want my child turned into a pawn." "That is all." Astrid did not press. She just nodded, as if she understood every inch of that fear. The next day, they took Leo to the library in Delhi. Leo whispered too loudly during story time and made the librarian flinch. Astrid shushed him, then shushed herself, and started laughing so hard she had to cover her mouth. For 30 straight minutes, Henry forgot courtrooms even existed. The day after that, Callista tried one last time. A new email, more polished than the first. It opened with flattery, slid into opportunity talk, and ended with another attachment labeled Collab Roadmap. Henry did not even open it, just forwarded it to Vivian. Her reply came back in under a minute. One single thumbs up. That night, Bernice showed up with a crock pot of soup, 2 bags of groceries, and a line Henry did not know he needed. If they wanted a war, she said, setting the bag down on his porch. They picked the wrong porch. She did not wait for a reply. She just adjusted her scarf and left. Henry believed her. Henry filed the papers on a Tuesday morning right after dropping Leo at school. It was small claims court, Delaware County, for $1,800, marked loan in his old notepad, backed by text messages and transfer receipts from last September. Clinton had called it a short float back then. Henry called it a lie with an invoice, certified mail, clean and cold, just like he wanted. Clinton settled the day before the hearing. $900 cash and 2 power tools he had borrowed indefinitely when Henry still answered his calls. Henry signed the receipt, filed the confirmation, and let that be the end of it. It was not about the money. It was about Henry no longer being a doormat. He texted Vivian the receipt. She answered with 2 words, "Thank you." But it read as if she had been holding her breath for months, and finally let it out. Work picked up. Henry's reports got tighter. He flagged a flood title vehicle for one of the regional dealers, catching the signs early. He saved them over $7,000 in paperwork and damage headaches. Word spread. By mid-month, one of the larger lots put him on a retainer. $1,250 a month for priority calls and first-look assessments. He did not ask for it. They offered. He accepted. Leo got a used sled and a new snow shovel with a padded grip. He called it the Digger. Astrid found a little rhythm of her own. She started helping the church shop mend donated sweaters. No charge, no schedule. She just came in, fixed what she felt like, and left when she wanted. She did not need a paycheck. She needed to choose. Some days, when a door slammed too hard or a truck backfired, she froze as if her bones turned to ice. Other days, she would crack a joke in the middle of folding laundry that made Henry spit coffee into the sink. These were both parts of healing. He did not read that anywhere. He watched it. One night, Henry got a text from Detective George. Just one line. Silas pled out. Long sentence. Astrid will not have to testify. Henry sat on the porch with that message lit up in his palm for a long time. Not moving, not breathing heavily, just letting that sentence settle where the fear used to sit. In April, Henry planted tomatoes behind the shed. It might have been too early, but he needed to get his hands in the dirt. Leo stuck popsicle sticks in the rows, drew faces on them, giving each one a name. This one is Commander Sauce. He is in charge of all the tomatoes. The black jacket stayed on the hook by the front door, still smelling like storage dust and winter air. Henry wore it on cold mornings out of habit, his thumb brushing the seam like a scar he did not want gone. One morning, Astrid stood by the window, sipping tea and watching the yard wake up. She said, "I have been thinking about June. Maybe I will try somewhere near a river smaller than here. Just me. No internet for a bit." Henry nodded. "You do not need my permission." "I know," she said, quiet but firm. Neither of them moved for a moment. The floor creaked once. Somewhere outside, a crow called as if it were late for something. Then Henry turned back to his screen, and she went to feed the kettle again, and that was all they needed to say. Henry is 56 now, telling a story about a year that hit the reset button on his life because a scrap of paper hid in a black jacket. And he did not shrug. He did not cash it in. He did not turn it into headlines. He just followed where it pointed and kept showing up. Back then, one warm evening that smelled like rain, Astrid sat on the porch steps with Leo between them, folding a paper boat out of thick construction paper. She was teaching him how to double the seams so it did not collapse in the birdbath like the others. "You have to crease it like you mean it," she said, tapping the fold. "See, now it floats." Leo beamed as if he had invented the whole thing. She glanced at Henry over the top of Leo's head. "My therapist says I should try the city again. Controlled exposure. Ease back in. She says it is a smart plan." Henry nodded, but did not rush to answer. She added, "My father is supportive. Gentle. Even, but his worry hangs off him like a coat that does not fit anymore." "You do not have to prove anything to anybody," Henry said. "Not even to a plan." She stared out at the garden for a while, her arms wrapped around her knees. "Then what are you proving out here?" "Fixing porches and writing about busted cars. That my child can sleep through the night," Henry said. "That I get to choose who gets my time. That quiet is not cowardice, it is freedom." His phone buzzed once. It was a photo from Vivian, Leo covered in flour next to a half-baked blueberry pie. Underneath the message, "Things are calmer." Henry let it sit. He just smiled and slid the phone back into his pocket. Callista had not tried anything in months. Clinton stopped calling. That was the thing with takers. They went where it was warm until it was not. Then they moved on as if they were never there. Astrid leaned back on her hands and looked at the tomato plants starting to reach. "You think there is room for sunflowers?" "I have room for anything you want to see stand tall." She stayed the rest of the summer. She took a part-time job at the library in town under a different last name. No one asked questions. She learned where the good shade was, the kind that moved with you when you shifted just enough. Leo started calling her G one afternoon and never stopped. Henry did not correct him. He named people the way children did. Honest, simple, and earned. Henry never once turned the story into headlines, never monetized it, never played hero. The closest he came to revenge was telling the truth to the right people at the right time, and refusing to open the door to the wrong ones. One morning, not long after the first sunflower bloomed, Henry found a note tucked behind the screw where the black jacket hung by the door. Just a slip of paper folded cleanly. One sentence written in tight, deliberate ink. "Sometimes we get found twice." He did not move it. He just left it there, hidden but not forgotten, where he could brush it with his fingertips every time he stepped outside to start the day. That was his ending, if one was needed. A child laughing at a paper boat that finally floats. A woman who breathes easier. A porch that holds them all without asking questions. And a man who finally learned how to say no without flinching. The city was still loud where it was loud. Up here, the porch light was enough. Henry did not win a prize. He did not get famous. But he chose this life. And that was the kind of revenge he was after.